Welcome to the Playful Life podcast. I'm your host, Crystal. Growing up, I struggled with my weight, self-confidence, and body image, and like many in my teens, I developed an eating disorder. I battled codependent behavior, and it all affected my mental health. As the years went by, I learned and grew in healing, and I found serenity, really in empowering others to let go of their pasts and to embrace their own leadership in their health and well-being. Now it is my mission as a coach, author, speaker, and podcast host to inspire and empower you to live your best, most playful life. On this podcast, you will hear from our guests about their personal struggles and breakthroughs in their health, careers, and relationships. You'll also receive tips, knowledge, and inspiration to tackle your own health goals and start living the dreams on your heart. Ready? Let's play. Hey, welcome to the show. Today I interview Chris Cave. He is a health coach from the UK. Very cool when I get to interview international guests. Chris and I share a lot of the same values and thoughts about playfulness and having fun and finding a fitness and health lifestyle that work for you personally. And sometimes it takes some trial and error and a lot of bumps and ups and downs along the way. But Chris definitely is out there teaching people the value of having health and vitality, especially as a parent. He has a child himself and thought, I need to be around. I need to be healthy. I need to have energy to run around with my family and be the best dad that he could be. So he started out on a health journey, and lo and behold, of course, now he is so energized and loving it that he is helping others, especially to become fit and energized parents. I know you are just going to love his energy and his accent and get so much from this episode. Enjoy. Greetings, Chris. How are you? Thanks for joining me on The Playful Life.
Hi, yes. Thank you very much for the invite, Crystal. It's great to be on the show. Yeah, really been looking forward to it.
Excellent. And I can now say that I am sort of an international podcast because I am interviewing you from across the pond. Where are you coming from, Chris?
As you can tell from my accent, I'm from England in the UK. I'm actually in Birmingham, which is Britain's second biggest city. So about 2 hours from London. So I've got a bit of a Birmingham accent, but hopefully you can all understand my accent.
Yes, definitely. Oh, that's so fun. I love it. I love how the internet just connects people anywhere and everywhere. So I really appreciate that. And you dealing with the time difference to be here with me today.
That's right. Yeah.
So Chris, I would love to just get started. So you have a website, a show, and a health coaching business, right? Be a Healthy Parent, or How to Be a Healthy Parent. You tell me about it. And I guess just what inspired you to want to work with parents in particular?
Sure. Okay. So for the last year or so, I've been doing similar thing to what we do now. So I've been interviewing health influencers from around the world. I think we've covered pretty much every continent now, but mainly Europe and America. And it's been really good fun to interview different influencers. So I've had nutritionists, health coaches, life coaches, podcasters, bloggers. I've had an actress. I've had a comedian. I've had Olympic athletes. So yes, it's been great, and they've all been basically trying to help parents get healthier, fitter, have more energy, so they can keep up with their children. But it's not just for parents, because I've actually found that at least half my audience either aren't parents or aren't like over 40. And it's amazing that a lot of my audience are especially from America and Canada, which I never thought would happen before COVID. So it's been fascinating, and it's so good to interview different people to get lots of different tips. And I mean, I've learned so much as well. because every influencer's got different background, different angle. And some of them have come up with some amazing things that you just wouldn't have heard of before. And it's been great to get lots of different tips, and my audience sort of like love listening to it because obviously they get to hear people from around the world. So yeah, so it's been really good fun. So I've really enjoyed that. And yeah, of course you came on my show, so that was fantastic as well.
Yes, yes, thank you for that.
Yeah,
That was it was neat because when we filmed it, there were some people live
yeah.
with us, and then it's also recorded. So who are those people that sort of join live? Are they your clients? Can people sort of, jump into those conversations with you and the influencers? How does that work?
Sure, yeah. So because of the time difference, I have to pre-record some, and some, like yourself, were live, and then my audience tend to be either European or American with the time difference, whereas the Australians are normally in bed then, so they have to watch it on catch up. Yeah, so it obviously goes out to anyone that joined the landing page and signed up for it, and also it goes out to my email list, and then it goes out on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else where people advertise it. And that way, we've had people from literally every time zone possible, and people love it because they said, well, you wouldn't normally get such a variety of people. Whereas people that have watched it, I think when we were doing our show, they were for our particular interview, they were actually guys, and they weren't even parents, but they still loved it. And don't tell anyone else, but they actually thought you were the best person I interviewed that day. So
Oh,
yeah, that was really good, and they
nice.
loved yours. And I had a comment today from a lady called Pammy in America who's 77, 78, and she's injured at the moment, but she said she absolutely loved your interview. She watched it at the weekend, so yeah, she really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
So the reason I put it together was because as parents we tend to get forgotten, and yeah, obviously parents are so important, but often parents are the ones who are the taxi service to the kids. They have to go out to work, they have to feed the kids, they have to get up in the night with them, they have to give up their social life, give up going to the gym because obviously bringing the kids up, and then you get to the point where you think, oh my god, I'm letting my health go, and then suddenly you wake up one morning thinking, oh my god, what would happen to my kids if I got ill or I suddenly died or something awful like that. And you actually think, well, where would your children be, and how would the rest of the family cope, and what would happen to them. So, and I actually thought, wow, something needs to happen for these parents to actually get healthier, because we tend to let ourselves go. So that's the reason I started. My journey started in 2016. So when my son was born in 2011, before that I was relatively healthy, but as soon as he was born, I had to give up. I used to be a ballroom dancer, salsa dancer. I used to go to the gym quite a lot, and basically everything got given up. And then I got overweight, I got sluggish, I got tired, had no energy, put on weight, didn't go to the gym anymore, I didn't dance. And in 2016, my son was bouncing on my stomach to wake me up because it's Sunday afternoon and I was asleep. And he said, please, will you play football with me in the park? And I went, I'm too tired, Daddy's too tired. And then he said, oh, you're no fun. And he started jumping on my stomach, thought it was hilarious. I won't even tell you what he said. And things like that. And then we had health checks where I used to work, and all mine came out really bad. Because my mum was a doctor, the retired doctor, even she said, Chris, you need to sort yourself out because you're getting putting on a bit of weight, you're not looking too good. And that was my wake up call. And then at the time, I went to Body Pump with my boss, and I had to put some spanx on, and my belly got so big I couldn't take them off, and he had to pull them off. And he was my boss, and he still reminds me about it. And that was my wake up call. And I think often we all have a wake up call, don't we, where suddenly so many things click at once, and you think, wow, I need to sort my health out. But often, where do we start? As you must have this with your clients. We all know we need to lose weight and do more exercise to get healthy, but it's not just that. There's so many other things that you need to do as well. And for me, I tried diets before and nothing had really worked. And I thought I need to sort myself out. So I tried lots of different things. I went back to the gym, had a personal trainer, started to get into food, nutrition. And it took a while to happen, but eventually it's getting there. And then another wake up call was I was with some friends in the pub, and my best mate introduced me to his mate, John, who was about 60, and heard him say that 5 out of 7 of his best mates had died in the last year due to ill health and illnesses and diseases.
Wow.
Um, and he said 5 of those 7 could have prevented it if they just
Mm.
looked after their health a bit more. So the next day, I went to the bookshop and bought loads of books on men's health, and then I started a men's group at work. We called it the Portly Gentleman Group. So in England, portly means when you're rather overweight, and people wouldn't come to start with because they said, no, there's nothing wrong with my health. And then after a
Mm.
while, we got more and more people. And I thought, oh, wow, this is really good. And more people came, and we all tried different things. And the more I got into the books, I thought, this is really interesting. And then I saw an advert for health coaching and nutrition. So I did that one to start with. And then because I used to go to gym quite a lot, quite a few instructors said, you'd be really good at teaching body pump, but you just need to train for it and get a bit fitter. So I did. So all these things happened at the same time. And then I started nutrition courses as well as health coaching, the gym thing. And so it all happened at once. And so that's basically how I got into being a health coach and helping people. And then obviously I helped guys to start with. And then my personal trainer said to me one day, he said, well, a lot of the people you work with are more like you as a dad. They're not like him. He's half my age, and everyone wants to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and like look really beefcake, but I don't want to do that, and neither did all the guys I was helping. They were all like, I'm not going to a gym. People laugh at me at the gym.
Mm.
Oh, we can't do that. No, no, no. I'd never be seen in the gym. So basically, that's how I got into like the dads first, and then the parents, and then it's taken off from that. So now I come across as like an ordinary person because I'm nearly 50, and I thought, well, when I'm 50, I don't want to be like a lot of 50-year-olds where you're full of aches and pains and you sort of give up and things like that. So I thought, well, I'm going to do my bit for society and help the parents to sort of reclaim their health, and that's what I've been doing. And now I have more energy than my son, who's 10,
Oh,
and he gets
wow.
really annoyed with that. Every time we play football, he gets really annoyed and says, "Daddy, slow down." And now when I play football with him after school, all the other kids are like are faster than them, and they call me Sonic, as in like Sonic the Hedgehog. So I'm like, wow, I didn't think that would be happening when I'm nearly 50. So that's really how I got into it, and it's just because it's turned from like a hobby into a business, but also a hobby that I like because I teach in the gym, body pump and spin for fun. I mean, I get paid a small amount, but I do it for free.
Yeah.
Last night, I only had one person in there, and she said, "Do you still want to teach for one person?" I went, "Yeah, of course. Like, let's
Mm.
do it anyway." And we had an amazing time. Whereas tonight, when I teach spin, it's a full class, so we'll have still as much energy. But I just love doing it anyway, and I think
Yes.
it's making health fun, isn't it, rather than
Oh,
something that you have to do.
absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I'm all about that and playfulness and
yeah,
finding that fun. And that's funny because when I was teaching a lot of classes, back in the day, I would say the same thing. If I had one person show up to class, I'd be like, well, you're here, and I'm here. So let's do this. And I'm curious because like you say, right, most people don't find the fun in it initially.
yeah,
And it can be really, I think, disheartening, and we get discouraged because we go to the gym and it's not fun right away. It's often very uncomfortable and challenging. And a lot of people, like you said, feel very out of place there, no confidence, that kind of thing. So what was that like for you? What was sort of that moment where you thought, like, this is fun? Was it a gradual process? Was it something in particular that you found playful or fun to like keep you going?
yeah. To start with, I seem to remember the first time I ever went to a gym when I was 30, and I was having a bit of a midlife crisis, thinking, "Oh my god, I've got through my 20s. I've never done anything exciting." So I started salsa dancing, ballroom dancing, went to the gym to lose a bit of weight, and got into spin and things. And then it was like, oh wow, the first few weeks were really scary, and after a while, it was good fun. And even with the salsa dancing, we used to do it on the train on the way to work. One of the people on the train would teach it to everyone else on the train. It was brilliant fun, and that made it more fun. And then the more I've got into like spin and body pump and things like that, it's become fun. But when you do lose your fitness, so obviously that was like a long time ago, and then in 2016 when I wasn't going to the gym after my son was born, and it's like you lose your mojo. I don't know if that's what you call it in America as well, but you just lose your energy and your mojo and your confidence. And yeah, and somebody at work said, "Oh, we're organising a mud run. It's us against another company. Will you help out?" And I was like, "Oh no, I can't do that because people see my belly. You know, when you're walking through all the mud and the slime and the lakes and jumping off things and climbing over things and jumping through fires, people are like laugh at me. And I was absolutely horrified. But in the end, it was great fun. I mean, I'm not the tallest person ever, so my boss at the time was tall. He had to throw me over certain things or climb up a tree and things. But it was great fun, and even like we all got dysentery from the dirty water, which wasn't nice, but we still had good fun, and
Oh
that's what makes it fun, yeah.
my goodness.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, and just when you're teaching in a class, I get my class to sing along. If I've got a biceps or at the bar, I'll go and stand in front of them and say, "Are you a beast?" And they don't get a rest until they say they're a beast, and then they love it and they say, "Can't get that song out of my head." So it's making them come back because they feel energized and they enjoy it. And with my clients,
Mm.
they don't really want to do the diet and things. So you say, well, it's not just about diet; it's about waking up in the morning as an energized, healthy person and like thinking, wow, you can see the bigger picture. With all this extra energy, think of all the amazing things I can do with it.
Mm.
And I'm being excited about life and trying new things and new hobbies. And I mean, my son hates going walking with me because I like to walk too fast, apparently. Yeah, but now his cousins are doing it, so he'll go walking with them up a hill or mountain in Wales, but he won't with me because he doesn't see that's being fun. Whereas a lot of people think, oh yeah, it's not fun, but you can make it fun. So now if I go walking with him, I say, okay, we'll look for sheep, we'll look for cows, or look for a river or the beach, and make it more interesting. And that's the same with trying to be healthy to make it more interesting. And like just when we did the men's groups at work,
Mm.
none of those men would have started a health journey on their own, but because we did it together, it was more fun, and we compete against each other and like, oh, who can lose the most weight, or who cut down the most beers in the week, and who stopped having takeaways, and then we'd look out for each other. And if anyone had something really unhealthy or brought donuts into the office, we'd say, why have you brought donuts in?
Mm.
So when it was someone's birthday, traditionally in the UK, people bring in cakes and donuts or samosas. And I started the new craze of bringing fruit in instead on my birthday. And people were like, oh, that's really boring. But they still ate it. And then after a while, everyone started to do it. And then when someone did bring a big cake in, people said, why have you brought cake in? We don't want to eat cake anymore. um,
Yes.
and sometimes we have this mentality where if you see a piece of cake, it's free, so you've got to eat it. Whereas if you see a piece of fruit, you wouldn't traditionally have tried it. Whereas now, because it's someone's birthday, you think, oh, actually, I'll have some fruit. And it introduces fruit to people's lives that they wouldn't normally eat. And just things like that, just to make it more interesting, because diets can be so boring, but you can make it really fun. And sometimes if you get your kids or your family to join in cooking something
Mm.
different, you go
Mhm.
into the supermarket and say, oh, here's a list of new things. Let's see who can find it first, and let's cook with it and see what it tastes like, and get them to close their eyes and say, describe what it tastes like. And another example I did with my son where he won't eat broccoli or sprouts. I'll challenge him and say, right, I'm going to eat it raw first for 20 seconds and then see if it kills me. And if it doesn't kill me, you're going to go and do the washing up, and then you go try it. And then he'll see that eating a piece of broccoli doesn't kill you and it doesn't really taste that bad. And what's 30 seconds out of your whole day? And then you say, well, I've eaten that now, so I'm going to be a superhero and now we're going to have fun. So it's just, playing around, to trying to make it playful.
I
It's
love
just, you've
that.
got to make life interesting, haven't you? Otherwise, you're not going to do it. You won't be motivated to do it. And
Right.
I've had one person who said, I'm not joining a gym because people die in the gym. I went, well, I've never seen anyone that happen to anyone. And for years and years, he would not go in the gym.
Wow.
Then he joined and did some of my spin classes, and he's lost 4 stone. I'm not sure what that is in pounds, but that's a lot. And now he loves it, and he's completely changed his whole life. Yet for 20 years, he was, no, I'm not doing that, because he didn't see it as being fun, and he thought he'd have to give everything up. Whereas now You don't
Mm.
have to give everything up. You can still do things in
Right.
moderation.
Well, think of all the things that like you were giving up, right? When your son was
Yeah,
bouncing on your stomach and saying, Dad, come play with me. Like you were giving
yeah,
up being a part of his life. And I think people don't always see the big picture like that. They think, well, in the moment, I'm going to give up sleep, or in the moment, I'm going to give up the cake, or in the moment, I'm going to give up the pizza or whatever. And it's not right. It's not thinking about what you're losing so much, but what you're gaining in the sense of like life and vitality and all of these things. And I love when you talk about just your improvement of energy. And what stuck out to me is so interesting is that there must have been some part of you, and we could talk maybe more about this, but that you said, okay, I need to do this. And you must have, I don't know, maybe looked around at your environment at work or whatever, but what was sort of that like defining moment where you're like, I'm starting a group at work? And well, I know you said it was the gentleman that had told you that, you know, a bunch of his friends had passed away. So
yeah.
what was that sort of moment where you're like, I'm going to bring all these people on this journey with me? Was it that you thought you needed accountability, or you wanted to like inspire others? Like where did that sort of spark, and how did that start?
Yeah, I think it's from the accountability and the motivation, and just the fact that you're doing it suddenly, instead of being the, I know, because we were all analysts at the time, just a nobody in a corner, and suddenly it's like, wow, look at Chris, he's like losing weight, he's getting full of energy, he's a different person, how's he done it? And people are like, actually, yeah, and they start to think, well, I could change my life and do it like that. And then more and more people got into it. To start with, people used to laugh at us. Then after a while, we're like, oh, actually, can I join your group? And then the ones who didn't join the group, all the others would say to them, well, look at all us, we're losing weight. Why aren't you losing weight? You know, no, it won't work. And then we could prove that it worked for us. And then the momentum starts, and the motivation and the accountability. And then you're like, well, actually, we don't need to have cake anymore. And we, it's like people used to go out for a drink on a Friday after work and have 4 or 5 pints of beer. And after a while, it would come down, and then you'd have a pint of water in between. And then after a while, I said, well, do we even need beer? So then we'd have non-alcoholic beer. And then we got to a point where we're like, do we even need beer? Because we still have as much fun, and you remember, and you don't feel ill the next day. So why do we need to drink at all? And the people are like, I never thought you could do that.
Yeah.
And you can still have fun. I mean, I could go out with my friends now and still have as much fun as I did before without having a hangover the next day and worrying about your weight and then this sort of thing. And sometimes, one of the gyms I work at, there's a coffee shop underneath, and sometimes if I've got a spare half an hour, I just go and have a quick coffee while I'm on my laptop. And people like say, "Oh, what are you doing in here?" It's, "Oh, I'm just having a quick rest," and they're like, "Oh yeah, okay." And because it's like, well, you don't have to necessarily completely just eat dust and drink water all day. You're human as well. And all the people in my class think, well, you know, because I'm older than most of the other instructors, but I've probably got more energy than them, and I can play music from their generation and make it more fun, and think like, who remembers this from the 80s, or who remembers this song from the 90s when we were all still young and we had hair, and yeah, things were going south, and they're like, oh wow, yeah. And it's just, yeah, health doesn't just have to be for when you're in your 20s. It could be for any age. I mean, my mum is 76 and my dad's 78. They still play football with my son. My mum does Pilates. They swim 5 days a week. My dad played hockey till recently, and they're full of energy. And sometimes you can use that as an example to say, if you do look after your health, this is the rewards. And they're always saying, oh, it's so sad that we have to go to so many funerals, and all our friends, all they ever say on the phone, oh, this has happened, this ailment and aches. And it's trying to get the message across that you can, if you invest a bit of time now in your health, you reap the rewards in the future. So it can be done, and
Yes.
it, make it fun. Yeah, I mean, my dad loves going swimming, and mum loves doing Pilates, even though some of it's quite hard. And it's just, I mean, I've got someone in my spin class who's 89, and he loves it. And I'm like, wow, if I'm 89, I'm still doing spin. That's fantastic. And so some of my clients have gone from absolutely no exercise to walking the dog to either joining a gym, even though I don't necessarily say to them they need to join a gym. It's just doing a bit of exercise. And after a
Yes.
while, 1 minute a day becomes 5 minutes, half an hour, an hour. And I sometimes one lady sent me a message this morning saying she'd done a 2 hour walk with her dog. And she said, I never would have done that before.
Hmm.
And I hadn't even told her to do any more exercise. I think the last few weeks we've been working on sleep and stress. And
Mm,
suddenly she's thought, well, actually, no, I'm going to do more exercise. I'm not going to wait for that week. I'm going to do it now. And and by getting better sleep and stress, everything happens. So, I mean,
very
as you
true.
know, when you're coaching people in health, it's not just the food and it's not just exercise. There's everything in the background, and they all come together. And so, so it's just about getting your message across to make people enjoy life, make it more playful, and you can
Yes.
eat more and have more fun.
I love that. And I do. I love that holistic, I kind of call it like the
Yeah.
holistic approach to health. And so amazing that you're doing this as well. And I find it fascinating that both of your parents are very active and concerned about their health. So was this something that was it like you grew up with sort of this example in your life, or was this later in life that your parents got more active, or what was that like? Because you said your mom was the one who was like, Chris, you better take some better care of your health.
Yeah, so my dad's always played hockey, or they used to play squash when they were younger. But since they've retired, they've got more active, and because they want to do the swimming and Pilates, whereas they wouldn't have done that when they were working. So they sort of changed it, but they didn't really push it onto me and my sister when we were young because we didn't really do anything exercise when we were young. We saw them doing it, but as teenagers, we didn't really want to do that. So and for me, it wasn't until a certain age that I decided I was going to get healthy. And now they're like, "Wow, I can't believe Chris is like doing all these amazing things in health." So my mum was a doctor before she retired,
Yes.
so obviously she knows how the body works and how to fix it, whereas I'm trying to prevent it in the first place. So when I first became a health coach, she said it'll never work because people are not interested in investing in themselves now. They wait till it's too late and then they want the doctor just to fix it,
Mm.
and by then it's too late. So she said it'll never work, whereas now it is working because people are actually thinking, oh yeah, I don't want to get ill in the future. So if I fix it now, that's an investment for the future. Because if you go to your future self in 20, 30 years time, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, oh my god, look at the state of me. Oh my god, all these aches and pains. And if you look back and think, well, if I just changed this, and this 30 years ago, I'd have a completely different life now. So going back to your question, sorry. So even though they were relatively healthy, it didn't really come across in our lives. It's sort of developed since. So I've took it on myself, and I never used to listen to my mum much because when I was at school, all my friends would always have days off school being ill, but my mum would never let me be off school sick because being a doctor, she said, "Well, no, you're not that ill. Go to school." And I think that sort of helped because my immune system's obviously been good, but also I've got that mentality where, well, actually, you can, I don't know, you can almost make yourself not feel ill, and sort of think, well, actually, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to look after myself rather than having to be off sick all the time. And just looking after your immune system. I mean, I'm hardly ever ill, which is really good. A lot of my friends are constantly ill with colds and coughs and pick up things. And I really believe that if you look after your immune system, your health, you can avoid a lot of those things. So it's just investing in
Absolutely.
your health, isn't it? Yeah,
Oh, yes, absolutely. And
yeah,
I have this conversation a lot with younger people too, that because from my perspective, I also a little bit touch on like financial health for people, and that thinking of, well, how you spend your money when you're in your 20s and 30s, and that affects you like in your 40s, 50s, 60s, all that retirement. And it's the same thing like you're saying with your health, what you're doing, what you're putting in the bank of your health and what you're withdrawing out of that bank of your health is going to compound over time, right? Sort of that idea of compounding interest in your health. And there's a concept I talk about a lot with my clients. It's are you thinking about the version of yourself 3 minutes from now, 3 hours from now, 3 days from now, 3 weeks from now, or 3 months from now? And people don't realize that this decisions that we make in the moment affect each version of that in ourselves. And the version of 3 minutes of us from now is going to be really maybe happy that we ate a piece of cake or, indulged a little bit or had that extra beer at the pub. But even 3 hours from having that beer, right, you might feel very different than you did 3 minutes after you drank it. And then, 3 days, you might now be changing your behavior because you thought, well, I had that beer the other day and now it's all over. And then, when you look 3 weeks, 3 months in the future from that, it's like you could be a very different person based on some of those decisions that you made in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. And just things like, making yourself eat a piece of broccoli, even if you don't like it. You just think, well, if I spend 30 seconds eating this broccoli, how much is that going to affect my health in the future?
Mm.
If eating a bit of broccoli now, just a tiny bit every day, some blueberries every day, kiwi fruit here and there, all these things build up, and then you could have less aches and pains when you're older. You can live longer, have more energy. So it's amazing, isn't it? Because especially when you say to people that got no energy, well, why haven't you got any energy? And they say, oh, it's either my age or it's just one of those things that happen.
Mm.
And when you just
Mm-hmm.
change a few things in their life and they go, wow, I've got an extra hour or 2 hours in my day. And they think that you have to drink more black coffee in the morning to have more energy or a Red Bull. It's like, no, you don't need to do that. There's so
Right.
many things you can do. And when they do it, they're like, I never thought I could get an extra hour or two out of my day. Because at the end of the day, we all have 24 hours in a day, whether you're the queen or a child or an adult, whoever, everyone has 24 hours in a day. So at the end of the day, it's how you use those hours. And you can, by having more energy, you could get an extra hour or two out of your body during the day. So yeah,
Mm.
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yes. And I love
So,
that. You're right. It's as simple as, this week I'm going to eat, a handful of broccoli every single day, or I'm going to drink an extra glass of water every day, or whatever that is, like building slowly. It's not, oh, tomorrow I'm not going to eat any carbs and I'm not going to drink any beer and I got to eat all the broccoli and I also need to go to the gym for 45 minutes and right, like that sort of like is just so unrealistic. And I think people have an impression of, right, somebody, maybe your friends or the people at work maybe looked at you and thought, oh wow, Chris is really like changing and he's losing weight and all these things, and maybe they thought like you just decided one day that all of these things were going to happen for you and boom, you were just a healthy person all of a sudden, right? But that transformation, we know, happens much more slowly than that. So maybe like, what was that for you? Was it a slow process, or was it like, what did you go on sort of like a diet plan initially and cut out things, or what kind of helped you find that balance, I guess, initially when you were reclaiming your health?
sure, yeah. So originally it was like panic because I had that moment where everything went wrong in the same week, and like even getting told off by your mum, even when you're in your 40s, is not good. And when your son's bouncing on your stomach thinking you're a trampoline, and when the nurse at work tells you you've got all these things wrong, you went, no, that will never happen to me. And then it's actually, yeah, it is happening to me. And then you're like, where do I start? And then you have a plan. So you think, well, do I do this? Do I do that? So for me, it was quite a quick process, even though I tried, like everyone else, tried loads of different diets before, tried doing a bit more exercise. But then I used to find the more exercise you do, the hungrier you get. And then I used to do lots of gym things, but then drink loads of Lucasade and sugary drinks for energy, and then eat loads afterwards. And then, but because you don't always understand what you need to eat and drink. So for me, I followed Joe Wicks to start with, who's quite famous in the UK. He used to do loads of books on healthy eating and exercise. So I got more and more into that. And then thought after a while, I could actually do this myself in a different way because he's in his 20s, whereas I'm in my
Mm.
40s. I can do it a different way. And then, I've had my personal trainer, Rory, for about 4 or 5 years now, even though I can personal train myself, but you need that accountability and the motivation. Because if he can't do Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. because he's off, I might then go to the gym. I won't do a full hour on my own, or I'll try and speed do it, and I won't do the same weights as when I'm with him, even though I know what I'm doing. So it's having that plan and sticking to it. But I think for me, it was so many wake up calls in the same week that motivated me, and I was so determined. So every day, I know you're not supposed to weigh yourself every day, but every day I'll be like looking on the scales, or just 100 grams here and 100 grams there. Used to have charts on the wall. I used to have like a little chart for how many litres of water I'd had a day. Then I started calorie counting, which I don't now, but at the time I tried that. And so there's lots of different things you're doing. And then you start to tell people about it, and everyone's like, wow, well done. Yeah, you're doing really well, and that motivates you. So, and I think, and I've still got some of the old books that I used to use. And I always buy lots of new books from like the charity shop, because sometimes there's older books have got like older tips, and you think, well, actually, there's a lot of good things that come out of that. And I just like learning about it now. So it's when I help people, I try and do the whole package of so many different things, because when I first started, I just thought it was exercise and food, and I never would have even thought about the sleep side of it, or the stress and things like that. Um, so going back to your question, it's sort of mine was quite quick, but it doesn't have to be. Some of my clients I've had for a year, because they've done it so gradually, they've kept the weight off, because every time they tried it in the past, they'd lose loads of weight to start with, and after a month, it would go back on and they give up. And now they haven't put, even in a year, they've not put any weight on. So they might have lost 30, 40 pounds and said, that's amazing, because I haven't put any of it back on, apart from when one of them had COVID. That was the only time they gained weight in a year, because they couldn't do anything. But it's amazing when someone says that, and they're like, oh, I've been trying this for 20 years and it's never worked. And now, because sometimes you're doing it gradually rather than panic dieting, because it really annoys me when people say, oh, Chris, can you help me lose 10 pounds in a week, because I'm going on the beach on holiday next week? And it's like, well, why have you left it till now? And why is it the minute you get on the beach, you'll start drinking loads and eating loads again? So you're only concerned about your health for 1 week. What about the rest of your life? So it's getting that
Yes.
balance.
I know
Yeah.
we talked about this when I was on your show, that concept of
Yeah.
like I mean, really that does create the yo-yo, I think, because people go, oh, I have this event coming up, or, a vacation or something, right? And it's like it's like this cycle of like punishment and reward too. I think that people get locked in, because it's like, well, I need to kind of punish myself and deprive myself of all these things, because I'm going to be going on this vacation that I want to look amazing for. And then when they get there, they reward themselves and go overboard, because they did all this work and they cut all these things out for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. And then it just keeps cycling and cycling. So, and I love that. It seems like you had a very playful, when I say that, I mean like a trial and error sort of like tinkering around approach to what worked for you. Like you said, you did try a few classes and you picked up a couple books, and it was this and that, and maybe you don't do any of those things or some of those things now, but that doesn't mean that you're not still focused on your health now. So people just need to start somewhere. And I think that's the thing too. People go, well, if I try this and I'm not just immediately wonderful at it and everything just happens for me right now, then they just give up. It's like they don't understand that sometimes it takes that period of trial and error, and what works for me. Maybe I didn't like that class, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to like any class at the gym, right? So I guess what would be your best advice for people who are at that point, Chris? Their kids are bouncing on their stomachs. Their mom is calling them, telling them they need to change something. The doctor's going, this blood work needs to improve. But they are so overwhelmed and just feeling like, where do I begin? But what would you say to somebody like that?
Okay, I'd say that to them, they've got to be motivated and know, we call it the why under the why. Here, you've got to know why you want to do it. And then when your brain says, I'm going to do it now, you will do it. Whereas just saying, oh, I want to look good on the beach isn't going to work. Whereas when your brain says, hey, I'm going to sort my life out for the best for the next 30, 40 years, and then have a plan, and then accept that you're going to have bad days where something will go wrong, but don't give up. Keep going and have a plan. Think, okay, I want to make this fun, so I'm not going to go from 0 to a marathon in a week. I'm going to build it up 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then the best thing I find is with accountability. So don't do things on your own. Make it part of your life to get all your friends and your family and your kids involved. As I said, I have coaches. I've got my personal trainer and I've got another coach, because even I need that motivation and accountability. And it's so important. And don't just try something on your own. Like, get advice, get help, get a coach. do research and then just make it fun, because if you don't make it fun, you won't enjoy it and you won't do it. And I get all my clients to have 5 things to remind themselves of why they're doing it. So some people, it might be a dress or a suit or something that they used to fit in and they want to fit in it again, and they hang it up in their bedroom and they see it when they get up in the morning and they see it when they go to bed at night. It could be putting a picture, their favorite picture, on their phone. So every time they see a picture of their kids or something, they go, oh, that's why I'm doing it. Or find a picture of you when you're really happy. I know, say your wedding or when you had your kids or on a holiday, stick it on the fridge door, because every time you go in the fridge and you're going to eat something naughty and you see that picture and you go, oh yeah, actually, there's a reason I'm not doing it. And I have some music. So I've got my peak state music I listen to in the morning. So jump out of bed, jump in the shower and put my music tracks on. And I know as soon as I hear that, it's time to wake up. It's time to get energized. I mean, one of them is Hadaway from the 90s, which is a really cheesy song that I never liked at the time. But my brain goes, wow, it's peak state time. Let's get going. Yeah. And occasionally I play that in spin as well, which is really funny. And I think, oh, yeah, this is my song, even though it's now in the evening, not in the morning. And just crazy, like putting your favorite song on, and then that motivates you. And you're like, hey, I know why I'm doing it again. And just anything you can do to remind yourself throughout the day is amazing. And then with accountability, say to all your family, right, I'm doing this diet or this health kick, support me. Do not try and put me off. Don't offer me donuts. Don't offer pizza or fish and chips. And don't try and put me off deliberately. So if you are going out for a meal, don't suddenly buy them a pint of beer when they've had a water. And just, and get people on side. So yeah, just make it fun, because otherwise you're not going to enjoy it, are you?
Right. Oh, absolutely. And I like that. Include people in on it and let people know, like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm doing this and I would appreciate your support. And I think oftentimes that makes other people feel special because now they're a part of what we're doing for ourselves. And I always say, like, the best gift that you can give anybody is yourself, and yourself being around for a long time. And so I'm so just very inspired by you and what you're doing for yourself as a parent, for your son, and future generations of parents and kids all over. So Chris, how can people find you, connect with your show, follow you, get inspiration from you?
Yeah, sure. So there's lots of different ways. So I've got a website, which is www.chriscavehealthcoach.com. Quite easy to remember. Cave spelled CAVE. My shows I do every month or two. If they contact me, I can send them a landing page for it. You can also find me on Instagram. It's Chris Cave Health Coach. Again, easy to find. You can find Chris Cave on Facebook, but there are quite a few of us. Anything like that, it's just easy to find, and then I can send you details. And then I've also got PDFs, like ebooks for parents as well, and I call it my 7 gatekeeper habits, which is the main one I did is for dads that haven't got a clue, and all the dads that go, wow, this is really good, because a gatekeeper habit is a good way for people to get into a new habit and be organized. So, for example, you always make excuses up. Go, I was going to go to the gym, but I can't find my kit, or can't find my trainers, or I was going to go for a walk, but this happened and that happened. But if you have them all ready the day before, you've got no excuse then. So find me on any of those ways, and then happy to help anybody, and then just help parents that just need a bit of a kickstart, or because a lot of parents don't want to look like or beefcake or Arnold Schwarzenegger. They just want to have more energy. They just want to wake up in the morning and feel good, and not like look at themselves in the mirror and go, oh, look at the state. No, like
Right.
it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to, if you're a parent, you don't have to give up on yourself, because at the end of the day, you've got to be a bit selfish to to look after your kids in the future. So, and they will appreciate that if you explain it to them.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Chris, for your time. And of course, I will link all of the ways to get in touch with you in the show notes for this episode. So God bless you and everything you're doing. And we'll, I'm sure, connect again soon.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for the invite. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
If someone you love would benefit from this message, please, please share this podcast with them. And if you want more out of your life, not just surviving every day, but you want to truly thrive, visit me at crystallizedhealthadvisors.com or on Facebook to schedule your free dream strategy call with me today. Do not hesitate any longer. Life is short, and I want you to truly live the playful life. I will see you next time, and as always, stay playful.